Hello everyone, this is Ben from VG Blaster, and today I am bringing you my deck profile for my Dragonic Kaiser Warning Deck. So just me today, but this is my deck, so I think I'm pretty qualified to talk about it. So for my starting Vanguard, I run Lizard Soldier Saishin. He is a Forerunner. His skill is +1. When this unit boosts an attack that hits a Vanguard, put him into the soul and choose one of your opponent's grid 0 rearguards and retire it. You can run grade 3 search if you like, but I like him because a lot of starters are generation break nowadays, so they stay on the field a lot longer, giving you plenty of opportunity to use him to kill them, and there is a lot of annoying starters in the game currently, so he's just useful for getting rid of him, so you don't have to deal with a lot of them. For our grade 3s, we're running 4 Dragonic Kaiser Crimson. He's probably the star of the deck. He legions with the original Dragonic Kaiser Vermilion, and his skill is Limit Break 4. Once per turn when you're in Legion, choose the act ability of this unit's mate, and you can play it without paying the cost. So that's giving him +2k and attack ability to attack all your opponent's front row in one attack. And then his secondary ability is Soul +1. If you are in Legion, you can Soul +1 to gain +2k power, and that's an act ability. You can use it multiple times as long as you have the soul in a turn to really help make magic numbers if you are running a bit short. So we run 2 of his mate, the original Dragonic Kaiser Crimson. He is just there to be a mate. You really don't want to ride him as your Vanguard. I mean, he helps because he's got the name for warning, but he's not a very good Vanguard in the current game. His skill is Limit Break 4, Counter Blast 3, he gains +2k, you can attack your opponent's front row in one attack, as said. But yeah, you really want him as your Legion mate with Crimson, really. So that's why we only run 2. And finally, we then run 2 Dragonic Vanquisher. I prefer Vanquisher over the Blood. Some people run the Blood just to keep the Kaiser name for warning, but I find Vanquisher's very good, so if you do ride him, you can still get your Conquest off if your opponent has a front row. If you don't know his skill, it's Generation Rate 2. When your opponent's rearguard is retired due to an effect from one of your cards, he gains +3k and 1 critical until the end of turn. And then his secondary ability is Counter +1. When a card strides on top of this one, choose one of your opponent's front row rearguards, retire and bind it. So yeah, like I said, he's good with Conquest. He's a good alternative Vanguard. You're probably not going to get his Generation Break skill off. There's only really one card that will help you get that off, but at least it's nice to have as a secondary Vanguard, really. So for grade 2s, we run 4 Voltron Dragon. Like I said, here's the card that will help get Generation Break off for Vanquisher. But he's mainly here for his skill of Counter Blast 1, Generation Break 1. When this unit attacks a Vanguard boosted, your opponent chooses one of their rearguards, retires and binds it. Your rearguards usually swing in second after your Vanguard wipes out your opponent's front row, so he basically forces your opponent to kill back row units that you otherwise couldn't touch. So yeah, he's very good for that, killing your back row, keeping your opponent's field relatively low, so you don't have a lot of stuff to deal with. Next for grade 2s, I run 4 Demonic Dragon Berserker Chitara. I love Chitara, he's very good. A lot of people don't like running him at 4, because he is a bit of a problem if you are forced to ride him. You can get rushed and hit pretty hard, but I kind of take that as a risk I'm willing to take because he's very good as a rearguard. His skill is he cannot attack a Vanguard, but when he does attack during your turn, he gets +3k, making him 11k. And Counter Blast 1, when he hits a Vanguard, you may draw a card and choose one of your opponent's rearguards in the drop zone and bind it. So yeah, mostly for his power, and he adds pressure because your opponent's not going to want you to draw, or if they've got like G perfect guards in the drop zone, or their Legion deck, or the cross, they don't want you to bind their drop, so he does add a lot of pressure, and the 11k power is very good because he helps hit magic numbers, because a lot of things in this deck add power in increments of 5 and 10, so he really helps hit magic numbers to make it harder for your opponent to guard. And finally for grade 2s, we run 3 Heatblade Dragoon. Originally, I was running Dusty Plasma Dragon, which is the 12k attacker, but because stupidly I assumed you could run it with Crimson, but it's only Vermilion name that gives him the power, so I switched to this guy, and I do tend to stride before I Legion, because the Legion's limit break, so it's a bit slower, so he's very good. His skill is Generation Rate 1, when this unit attacks a Vanguard, he gains +3k, making him 12k on Vanguard attack. Once again, you don't really attack your opponent's rearguards, they've usually been wiped out before your rearguards swing in, so he's just very good for the power and making magic numbers once again, same as Chitara. For grade 1s, 4 Perfect God Gs, Dragon Dancer Anastasia, pretty self-explanatory. You don't really need the unflip. This deck doesn't really go through Counterblast that much. They're all in increments of 1 as well. It's just Warning, Chitara, and Voltage Horn. So it's just helpful though to have. It keeps them open if you do Voltage Horn a lot, or Chitara if he keep consistently hits. But yeah, it's mostly there just to stop your opponents hitting you with big numbers. For next for grade 1s, for Mighty Bolt Dragoon, the stride node of the deck, you really want to stride consistently in this deck, get your warnings off, get your Conquest Dragons off. So yeah, he's just helpful for that. You don't really use your secondary skill because you usually want to be at Crimson over Vanquisher, so that's fine. And next, for grade 1s, for Crownholder Dragon, really a star of the deck. He's very good, he just came out in Fighters Collection. His skill is, when you're a Vanguard with Kaiser and its card name hits a unit, choose this unit and another, and they both gain 2k. Really helps you hit magic numbers. Really think about where you're going to put this guy's power. You can spread it into different columns, so really look and think about where you're going to hit magic numbers, making it harder for your opponent to guard, and usually finishing them off. And finally for grade 1s, I run 2 Wyvern Strike Pajima, I think is how you say that, probably wrong, sorry if I am. His skill is Generation Rate 1, when this unit attacks, this unit gets plus 4k, but he cannot attack a rear guard. Once again, not a problem in this deck. You're usually wiping out your opponent's front row with a Vanguard before your rear guards swing in. If you want to trade this guy out for Limp Break removers to get the Legion off quicker, you can. That's personal choice, but I just prefer him for the power. I mean, with Conquest as well, like he can swing in for 21 by himself as a grade 1. So yeah, he's just amazing for stuff like that. For triggers, we're going to run the pretty standard 8 crit, 4 draw, and 4 heal. I don't know why you'd really run anything else in this deck. You don't run stands because your Vanguard usually swings in first. You can go 12 crit if you want to go balls to the wall aggression, but I prefer the hand advantage that draw triggers can give you, because you can go late game with this sometimes. So yeah, the draw is just good to have. Now for strides, we'll start with 2 Lightning Dragon Knight Zoras. His ability is, when this unit hits a Vanguard, your opponent chooses one of their rear guards, retires it, then you choose 2 units from their drop zone and bind them. So once again, same with Chitara, binding your opponent's drop zone is very good to get rid of Perfect Guard G so they don't get unflips. Really slow, especially this card because it binds 2, really slows Legion decks down or applies pressure to them. So they're either going to take it, it'll slow the deck down, or they're going to throw some guard down, and then they've wasted guard they could use late game and you just hit them hard later on. So yeah, he's very good for pressure in general, and so yeah, that's why we run 2 of him. Next we run 2 Conquering Supreme Dragon Conquest Dragon. Yeah, I run 2 of him. You can push him up to 4 and push Warning down to 2 if you wish, it's personal preference. The problem is you never know how the game's going to go out, you never know how your opponent's going to play against this deck, so you never know which one's really the right choice to run at 4. So at the minute I'm just running Warning because he's a new card and I like him, but I don't see a problem with running Conquest at 4 either, especially because you run Vanquisher as well. He's very easy to get his skill off. Your opponent rarely has a front row because you're usually just consistently wiping them out. So he's good for a finisher, or good early if they don't have a lot of rear guards. So he's really versatile for things like that. Oh, his skill, if you didn't know it. Generate Rate 2, G Persona flip him, kill a unit in your opponent's front row, and then your front row gains 10k for every empty rearguard circle in your opponent's front row. So basically, if your opponent has an empty front row, your front row gains 10k, makes very powerful columns, very powerful attacks, and then triggers on top of that usually come as well, so that's very helpful. So as mentioned, finally I run 4 Dragonic Kaiser Warning. His skill is Generate Rate 2, Counterblast 1, G Persona flip him, and he can attack every unit in your opponent's front row, and then for every unit he hits you can choose 2 of your rear guards and they gain plus 5k. So basically you swing in, if they have a full front row and they no guard all of it, you can give 2 units plus 15k. You can either put that in separate columns, or if you've been link jokered and you have a closed column, you can give 1 column plus 30k if you do hit every front of the front row. So he makes very powerful columns, very hard for your opponent to guard against your rear guards after he swings in, and it decimates the front row. So he's just very good in general, and in combination with Crown Holder, he just big number on columns if you have the rear guards. So yeah, that's my deck. If you are wondering, this deck will not get updated when Moonlit Dragonfang comes out. There's really nothing in that set that makes this deck any better. So yeah, it will be staying like this until Kaiser gets further support, if it does. But this is a very good deck as it is right now. When Moonlit Dragon Fang does come out, I will be updating Brawlers, making Eradicators and a Vanquisher build as well. So Narukami players, stay tuned for that. So yes, I hope you enjoyed. This has been my deck profile for my Dragonic Kaiser Warning Deck. Hope you enjoyed. This is Ben from VG Blaster signing out, and see you guys soon. Bye.